So you know who said that they're sick of modern fantasy and they have 2 modern fantasy books on their TBR in April? This guy. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another monthly TBR, this time for April of 2025. New quarter and some new fresh starts are coming up in the month of April, and it's an exciting time to talk about because I think even if you feel like you are a little exhausted with things, whenever you start something new, it feels very exciting. It feels like it could be the opportunity to find your next big series, right? And I got some here that I think might actually be fitting that bill a little bit. Now, I'm going to mention these in the order that I plan to read them, and that can change, though. So I want you to understand, hey, it's April the 1st. Why aren't you reading this book? Hey, you know what? Sometimes things can change before the end of a video, much less by the time I actually get to some of these. But I'm excited for all these books and for different reasons. We're going to kind of talk about each of them now. So to kick things off, guys, I think that by this point, you know it had to be coming, because if you are on BookTube and you have not read Dungeon Crawler Carl yet, you are treated like a pariah. You are treated like someone who has never even tried anything other than a Bud Light. I feel like this book is just captured in the pop culture zeitgeist right now like nothing I've seen. I think back when I first started a BookTube channel, like Rage of Dragons was like all the rage, for lack of a better phrase there. Then it was like the Greenbone Saga. And it's just like there's certain series that everyone just kind of coalesces around. Murderbot was really big there for a minute. This one is just taking over like I have never seen before. People who would not usually read a book like this are giving it a try and being like, holy shit, this is actually really good. And I've had someone say, don't let people bully you into trying something. I ain't scared of anybody like that. I am never going to let anybody bully me into reading something. That's not the way that I work. But if enough of my viewers want me to read this and want to hear me talk about it, look, you're at risk for me not liking it and me breaking your heart with it, but I don't know. There's just too much going on right now about this book for me not to give it a try. So I'm finally going to dip into it here in April. And it's one of those where I think my exhaustion with some modern fantasy things I've been talking about recently, this could be a nice reprieve from that, I feel like, because it sounds like a book that doesn't take itself too seriously, and that's what's really great about it. Now, I've heard the criticisms of, I don't want to read about your video game, and that was a big complaint about Cradle. But from what I've been told about this, unlike Cradle, this actually has character work in it. So we'll see. Because this synopsis right here, guys, it's wild. It's wild. And it doesn't sound like anything I would pick up unless it was all of you carrying on about how great it is. So in case you are one of the last few remaining out there who don't know what Dungeon Crawler Carl is about, well, it's about a man, his ex-girlfriend's cat, and a sadistic game show unlike anything in the universe. A dungeon crawl where survival depends on killing your prey in the most entertaining way possible. In a flash, every human-erected construction on Earth collapses in a heap, sinking into the ground. The buildings and all the people inside have all been atomized and transformed into a dungeon, an 18-level labyrinth filled with traps, monsters, and loot. A dungeon so enormous, it circles the entire globe. Only a few dare venture inside, but once you're in, you cannot get out. And what's worse, each level has a time limit. You have but days to find a staircase at the next level down, or it's game over. In this game, it's not about your strength or your dexterity. It's all about your followers, your views, your clout. It's all about building an audience and killing those goblins with style. You can't just survive here. You gotta survive big. You gotta fight with vigor, with excitement. You gotta make them stand up and cheer. And if you do have that it factor, well, you may just find yourself with a following. That's the only way to truly survive in this game. They call it Dungeon Crawler World, but for Carl, it's anything but a game. Sounds like The Running Man a little bit. Stephen King's The Running Man, or most of it, more the Arnold Schwarzenegger Running Man than Stephen King's Running Man, because they're quite different. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. I heard somebody complain about you basically get loot boxes and stuff. I'm like, so just like in Hunger Games? Hunger Games got loot boxes. I didn't see anybody really upset about that. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to fall on this. I've had as many people tell me that I will love it as people that tell me that I'm not going to like it. So I don't know. I could go anywhere with this. I'm going to show you the next book. But it's very, very interesting. And I'm going to give it 100% of my attention. Now, look, I have to address the elephant in the room because I know you're all going to say in the comments, guys, I do not listen to audiobooks. It's not a I don't care to. It's a I cannot. I have listening ADD. I will miss everything that's going on. And people tell me, oh, dude, it's at a different speed. Try to get a narrator. You're like, does not matter. James Marshall was great on Dresden Files. in one ear out. I didn't retain anything in like 4 hours of listening. So it's just a me thing, guys. I cannot do it. I do not have the attention span audibly to do that. So I will not be listening to the audiobook. So I'm hoping it's as exciting reading it as it is apparently listening to it. I hope. I mean, there's lots of people who only like audio performances of books. For me, clearly, it's about what's on the pages. And if it translates through, I've had other people tell me, like John over at Talking Story told me he tried to do the audio, and he's like me, he can't really focus on them. He read it with eyes only, and he liked it. So we'll see. We'll see where I fall on it. But I'm excited I'll be able to at least know what everyone is talking about when they carry on about this book series. Next, we're going to hit some hard science fiction with a book I've always kind of been scared to try. And not because I think it's too difficult or anything like that, but because I'm worried that it might taint the legacy of the first one. Because this is my favorite science fiction book, not named Dune. That, of course, is Ender's Game, and this is going to be Speaker for the Dead. Now, with this one, I've always put it off, like I said, because I love that first book so much, and I've heard so many mixed to negative things about the sequel books, about like they're not anything like Ender's Game. And I'm like, well, you know what, kind of like Dune? All the Dune sequels are not like Dune. They're very, very different. And with this, I don't know where I'm going to fall on it. Some people say it's just like super depressing. Some people say it's fine. It's really good. Some have said they think it's better than Ender's Game. So I feel like it's a good mix out there. And again, depressing doesn't bother me, guys. I read grimdark. I'm fine with that. So I don't know exactly what that means. But if it's just because it's super, super different, because even though it was a very, very cruel and awful existence for some of these kids in Ender's Game, I still felt like it had a blink of optimism in it about what Ender could actually, make humanity evolve to. I feel like it did have a hopeful message in there somewhere. If this just loses that, that's fine with me. I can live with that. Again, I'm drawing the Dune parallel because everybody thinks that, book one with Dune, you're going to be following Paul Atreides. All that, you read book two, you're like, oh, okay. So things change up. So we'll see how this goes. But I have the whole set of the Ender Saga and Ender Shadow. But this one, I'm finally going to do this just because I feel like I need to at this point. A lot of people ask me about it like all the time. Like, you talk about so much about how much you love Ender's Game. Why have you not read more? And really, it's just fear of tainting that first one. But I will go into it knowing that first one, you can't take it from me, and I'll always love it. I don't think there's anything I can read in that series going forward to make me look back at Ender's Game and be like, it sucked. So who knows? But I'm very excited to finally see what Ender and the crew is up to. So what is Speaker for the Dead about? Well, it's the aftermath of his terrible war. ℕ𝕤𝕤 disappeared and a powerful voice arose, the Speaker for the Dead, who told the true story of the Bugger War. Now, long years later, a second alien race has been discovered. But again, the aliens' ways are strange and frightening. And again, humans die. And it is only the Speaker for the Dead, who is also ℕ𝕤𝕤's the Xenocide, who has the courage to confront the mystery and the truth. Very, very vague. That's the way book blurb should be, right? The synopsis should be, here's a quick little glimpse, but you're not going to give anything away because that tells me nothing. So excited to see. I don't know if we'll see anyone else from the original series. I know the original book. I know that there was the way that it ended. It was kind of like, we're getting the hell out of here. We're going, light years away. So it could be a completely new cast. I don't know. I don't know who we'll see and who we will not see in it. But I'm excited to see Ender again, and hopefully it can hit me the same way that book one did. I've been talking a lot recently about trying some new urban fantasy series while I do wait for a new Dresden Files book. And the series I think that I get recommended a ton, I'm going to give a go, is going to be Mercy Thompson by Patricia Briggs. I'm going to try book number one here. This is Moon Called. And this is one of those that people tell me, I don't know. I don't know if that'll be for you or not. Well, we'll find out. And with me, it's like, people have said, I don't know how you'll like it because it's got romance in it. And I'm like, Dresden Files has romance in it. It has heavy romance in it. I have several cases of heavy romance in Dresden Files. But because it's a female protagonist, apparently, that makes it romantic-y. I disagree. The comparison I make is like, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's my favorite TV show ever because it just has such incredible, incredible character work. And I feel like reading the synopsis of this sounds very more Buffy-ish than I think Dresden Files did, which Dresden Files felt a little bit more like Angel mixed with like Hellblazer. This feels a little bit more of a Buffy vibe, I guess. Not quite the chosen one, but dealing with like, just the different beasties and the different spirits and demons and beings from hell and things like that. It just sounds exciting. It sounds like a very for lack of a better phrase, over the top. And that's what I want a little bit with my urban fantasy. I want it to be a little over the top, a little hammy, because I think that's what just kind of makes it go, to believe in those things that we don't see every day that might actually exist right under our nose and we don't even know about it. So with this one, I've heard mixed feedback on it. Some people told me, yeah, absolutely. You like Buffy, you're probably going to have a good time with it. And others, again, I think they just assume because it's a female protagonist, I'm going to hate it, which is weird. Because like I said, Buffy, greatest ever. Buffy is a superhero. And I'm excited for this. Very, very excited. But what is Moon called about? Well, Mercy Thompson is a talented Volkswagen mechanic living in the Tri-Cities area of Washington. She also just happens to be a walker, a magical being with the power to shift into a coyote at will. Mercy's next-door neighbor is a werewolf. Her former boss is a gremlin. And she's fixing a bus for a vampire. This is the world of Mercy Thompson, and one that looks a lot like ours, but is populated by those things that go bump in the night. And Mercy's connection to those things is about to get her in some serious hot water. So it sounds to me like an episode of Buffy. I mean, it sounds exciting. I'm all for it. You give me just absolutely ridiculous stuff. I'm fine with that. It doesn't have, it's urban fantasy. It's not supposed to be realistic, guys. I'm excited for it, so we'll see how it goes. If it happens to have a romance in it, I don't think that makes it romantasy just because it has romance in it. It sounds like urban fantasy that has a romance, and I'm fine with that. Excited, because Buffy had a lot of romance, and I love that show, and I would never call it a romantasy show. But, hey, our likes and dislikes differ, so maybe you might feel differently. Maybe I might feel differently after I read Moon Cold, but it's such a short little book there. I feel like I can give it a try and see if which way the winds are blowing, if I want to continue with that series going forward. Next up, guys, you guys know I love Blackmouth. I read it in February. It was my co-book of the month. I was very excited. I want to read more Ronald Malfi. Well, he's got a new book coming out called Senseless, coming out here in April, and I got the advanced reader copy of it here, and I'm going to be starting that one. I've got it listed. I said these were in the order I was going to read it in, but the more I'm thinking about it, I think I might read this one first, just because I'm excited to read more Ronald Malfi. And I think that, a nice, quick little crime thriller might be the type of book after I leave the world of Lonesome Dove. It might be a nice book to kind of cleanse the palate again before I get into the heavy, heavy fantasy stuff here. But Ronald Malfi is an author I am very optimistic about. I've read 2 of his books, liked one, absolutely loved the other one, and I feel like he's the type of writer I've been waiting for. I feel like this could be that Stephen King of this generation that I've been really, really searching for a while. I know that's really, really a wild boast and high expectations to put on someone after 2 books. But there was just something about Blackmouth that just clicked with me so much. I mean, like, this is what I've been looking for in a modern horror author. And this sounds like everything I wanted in Come With Me. What Come With Me was just a straight crime, serial killer kind of novel. And this sounds like it's that, but adds in some supernatural elements. And that is my brand, man. I'm very, very excited to dig into this. So Senseless by Ronald Malfi, what is this one about? Well, when the mutilated body of a young woman is discovered in the desert on the outskirts of Los Angeles, the detective assigned to the case can't deny the similarities between this murder and the one that occurred a year prior. Media outlets are quick to surmise this is the work of a budding serial killer, but Detective Bill Rennie is struggling with an altogether different secret that keeps him tethered to the husband of the first victim. Maureen Park, newly engaged to a Hollywood producer, finds her engagement party crashed by the arrival of a son. The darkly unsettling young man invades Maureen's new existence, and the longer he stays, the more convinced she becomes that he may have something to do with the recent murder in the high desert. Tony Campion begins an obsession over a woman who is unlike anyone he has ever met, a woman with rattlesnake teeth and a penchant for biting, a woman who has trapped him in her spell, a woman who may or may not be completely human. So while this synopsis sounds like vampires to me, don't know. I don't want to know. I want to be surprised. But Ronald Malfi playing with vampires, that's something I would be here for. That's a formula that's always going to really work for me. So I think it's, again, it makes me think very much like it's a marriage of the supernatural and the crime thriller. And you put those things together, I think that's something I'm going to be much more interested in than just a straight serial killer book. So we'll see. But I'm absolutely excited. I've bought like 5 Ronald Malfi books since I read Blackmouth, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. A little spoiler here for you for the rest of the year. I think I might be reading a Ronald Malfi book every month until the end of the year because I'm very, very excited for this author. And again, it makes me think of when I discovered Blake Crouch, and I was like, holy crap, I finally found that next Michael Crichton. That's how I felt. And this, I'm like, did I really find my modern day Stephen King? Because all he wants to write about is Holly now. Is this guy going to be writing the kind of stories I'm looking for? I'm hoping so. I'm very, Very optimistic for this author. The next one, now I got to preface this by saying you guys know that I did say recently I'm really, really exhausted with modern fantasy. I said I feel like everything is just so formulaic. Nothing seems fresh anymore. Seems like it's just recycled ideas, like it's being fed through an algorithm, and this is what it spits out. So when I've got 2 new fantasy books on here, I feel like people might be like, so did you mean that? I did mean that. And the thing is like, one, look, I made some promises to some people. I made my video last year of saying, and these are new fantasy series I want to try this year. So I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to change gears in the middle of the year. 2026 might look a little different. But there are several books that I had mentioned I want to start on there, and some that I've either gotten recommendations for, and I've heard the things I want to hear, like it's incredibly unique. It's like so unique, I can't even think of anything to compare it to, and that is The Failures by Benjamin Lyer. Now, this one I got a ton of recommendations for from Dark Tower fans. And I don't know if it's anything like Dark Tower, but I think it just might mean that it's that fresh. It has just so many unique ideas that you aren't seeing in every other fantasy book out there. So this one, it sounds, I can see the Dark Tower comparisons off the synopsis a little bit, because it does sound like some things can be kind of parallel there. I don't know if Mr. Lyer, it's a great name by the way, I don't know if he is a Stephen King fan or not, but again, that's obviously a way to get my attention, is tell me, something like a Stephen King property. Now, you would think that sets the bar a little high, and it can sometimes. But with this, I think I'm going to go into it with an open mind because it sounds incredibly unique. I know John from Talking Story just talked about it. And he was mixed on it for a while. So it sounds a lot like a book that people were saying like they don't understand it. And then once it clicks, it all makes sense. And that's okay, because I think about like The Darkness Comes Before by R. Scott Baker. I was like, amazing prologue. And I was like, I don't know what's really going on here. And like at the halfway point, everything clicked into place. It was like, holy shit. This is one of the most amazing fantasy books I've ever read. So again, I talk about Dark Tower and Darkness Comes Before. That's really, really high expectations to put on this. I'm just saying that I'm open to these things. And this sounds so incredibly unique and original that I have no problems giving it a go here. So what is The Failures about? Well, a vast machine made for reasons unknown, the Wonderlands was broken long ago. First went the sky, splintering and cracking, and then very slowly the whole machine, the whole world, began to go dark. Following the summons of a strange dream, a scattering of adventurers, degenerates, and children find themselves drawn to the same place, the vast underground keep. They will discover there that they have been called for a purpose, and that purpose could be the destruction of everything they love. For below the keep, imprisoned in the greatest cage ever built by magicians and gods, lies the buried giant. It is the most powerful of its kind, and its purpose is the annihilation of all civilization. But any kind of power, no matter how terrible, is precious in the dimming wonderlands, and those that crave it are making their moves. All machines can be broken, and the final cracks are spreading. It will take only the careless actions of 2 cheerful monsters to tip the wonderland towards an endless dark, or help it find its way back to the light. So I won't talk about all of the Dark Tower comparisons I can think of there, but I can definitely see that. But maybe I'm just wanting to see that. I'll admit that. But interesting book. Interesting ideas, rather, for this book. And I don't know. Again, either way I could go, but it definitely doesn't sound like my biggest problems with everything sounding formulaic. For this, it's like it'll depend on, are these characters one-dimensional or not? Well, we'll find out. But I've heard good things from people who have read it. But I thought this book was like much, much more popular, and I'm saying it did not have a ton of reviews or anything on Goodreads and things like that. So again, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing, because sometimes you can find a real gem when you go for things and you don't just look at, hey, it's got 10,000 Goodreads reviews. Something that people have been dragging me for the last 2 years, I started making that Stephen King tier list, and I got through part 3. And then I was like, hey, part 4 will probably be a while, because I'm doing rereads of a lot of these books, because a lot of them I read when they were brand new, and I feel like it would be wrong to rank them before doing a revisit. And in this case, guys, it's a good thing, because I remember nothing about From Buick 8. This is my first edition. It's got the nice embossed cover and everything. I read it when it came out, and I don't recall anything. So it's like, did I read it? I don't know. Maybe it just was at a bad time for me or something, because I don't recall much of anything about it. I kind of feel the same as I felt about Bag of Bones, where I was just like, I don't recall a ton. And then I reread Bag of Bones, and I loved it. So hopefully this will be the same case. This feels like one that people don't really talk about at all. But I've got to do this, and I got to do Dark Tower 6 and 7. Then I'll be doing Stephen King tier list number 4. And all 3 of those books will be happening this year, guys. So there's your announcement. We will be getting Stephen King's tier list number 4 in 2025. Exciting times, right? For those who have been waiting, thank you so much for your patience and allowing me to do this. It was the thing where I was going through where like I didn't want to do any rereads because I was like, I'll never be able to read all this stuff behind me. I don't want to do any rereads. And I kind of really slowed down into the multiverse. But with this, getting back on board with this, I'm excited to do it because, again, it'll almost be like new because I don't know why I don't. Maybe when I start reading it, I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay, I think. Right now, I keep thinking about Killer Car, Christine. That's all I can think about. Don't know, but I know, again, I did read it on release day. So who knows? But from a Buick 8, what is this one about? Well, the state police of Troop D in rural Pennsylvania have kept a secret in Shed B out back of the barracks ever since 1979. When troopers Ennis Rafferty and Curtis Wilcox answered a call from a gas station. Kurt knew old cars, and he knew immediately that this one was wrong. Just wrong. A few hours later, when Rafferty vanished, Kurt and his fellow troopers knew the car was worse than dangerous, and that it would be better if John Q. Public never found out about it. In the fall of 2001, a few months after Kurt passes away, his 18-year-old son Ned starts coming by the barracks, mowing the lawn, washing windows, and shoveling snow. Sandy Dearborn, Sergeant Commanding, knows that it is the boy's way of holding on to his father, and Ned is allowed to become part of the Troop D family. One day, he looks in the window of Shed B and discovers the family secret. Like his father, Ned wants answers, and the secrets begin to stir, not only in the minds and hearts of the veteran troopers who surround him, but in Shed B as well. Yeah, nothing. Don't get anything, any memory from this, like whatsoever. So this is a book I feel like it has a little bit of a mixed reception to it. Like there's people who are like, I don't understand why this gets dragged so much. And then the people are like, oh yeah, it's terrible. You know, so I feel like maybe it just might have been forgettable. I don't know. This is that stretch of King's career after his accident where he was like trying to re-find his footing again. And there was some hits and there was some misses. You know, Dreamcatcher was very much a miss. Regardless of how you feel about it, it was really a mainstream miss for him. And, you know, and I felt like Black House, I didn't even read it until last year. And what else he do during this time? Anyway, there was some books where it's just like, it seemed like people were just kind of, it's fine. And just kind of forget about it. People just kind of moved on. A Bag of Bones, what I just mentioned. And I don't know. Maybe this kind of falls under that umbrella, but we're gonna find out. And I'm never, ever upset to revisit a Stephen King book, especially as an adult when you actually have some real experience. Because I feel like as a kid, you just want the scary stuff. You get older, you want the scary stuff, but you want those character moments as well. Maybe some of that dad shit. And this is about a kid, you know, trying to remember or hang on to the memory of his father. So I'm sure it'll have some of those feels that Stephen King knows how to put into his characters. And it should be an exciting time before I have to read Song of Susanna, which I know I'm not going to enjoy. So thank you guys again for sticking with me as I've been trying to get through these rereads here for Into the Multiverse and talk about those individually as well as doing that Stephen King tier list. So guys, that's going to be the month of April. Exciting month ahead, obviously. I'm trying to do 6 books again. Did 6 last month. Well, if you count it, because, you know, I didn't finish Buffalo Hunter. But, you know, hey, again, I think that keeping our options open for these kinds of things, if something isn't working for me, I said I was going to be a little quicker on the DNFs this year. And I don't want to do that. I'm not looking to DNF any book, but if I'm not enjoying it, I'm not going to force myself to finish something. And I think that's going to apply to all these as well. Nothing is above the good old DNF. Ask Andrew's Wizardly Reads. He knows. What do you guys have on the list to do in April? Are you going to read any of these? What do you have on your own personal list to read in April? I would love to hear it. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.